It's always interesting to learn something new about your favorite fighting games, especially if that fighting game has been out for nearly a year already. Today, I wanted to share with you some secret tips and tricks about Mortal Kombat 11 that a lot of players still don't know about. So please leave a like down below if you learned something new, and also feel free to list any extra secrets that you know about in the comments. Without any further ado, let's begin. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was the secret powers of unblockable attacks. Now they're kind of rare in this game, but every character does have a throw, both forward and backward. And as I'm sure a lot of you know, throws do actually catch rolls, which is nice because nothing else can actually hit them during the roll. And in fact, command grabs actually work as well. It may be a bit trickier to time because you gotta do an input and not just one button, but command grabs can also catch people rolling. I'm sure you already knew that too, and in fact some characters like Collector actually get a crushing blow for pulling this off. However, something I did not know until recently is that it's not just throws and command grabs. It turns out that anything unblockable at all will hit the opponent when they're rolling, even if it's a physical attack. So check that out. I still caught Devora even though she was super far away because the range on this unblockable is just ridiculous. Now, does this have any real practical setups most of the time? Maybe not, but once again, I didn't know until recently that unblockables will beat rolls no matter what. Instead, I always thought the move had to be a throw or a command grab, but it turns out no, anything unblockable will catch the opponent rolling, so keep that in mind, especially if any new DLC characters come out and they have unblockable moves. Because as it turns out, that's what the game's code is actually checking for. It's not checking if the move's a grab, it's just seeing if the move is unblockable or not. And then if you're someone who prefers custom combat instead, this information becomes very important because Sub-Zero has this ice puddle. And I highly recommend checking out Mustard's video on this tech because basically Sub-Zero can launch you to a very simple setup and then nothing you do can escape this puddle. Even Wake Up 3 for most characters won't even reach him. It can avoid the puddle, but they waste a lot of bars just to avoid that. But if they go for a Wake Up 2, no invincibility, so they get caught. If they try to jump, they get caught. And as mentioned earlier, if they try to roll in either direction, they still get caught because once again, the roll is vulnerable to anything that's unblockable. So if you enjoy playing custom combat, once again, I highly recommend that video. I'm gonna go ahead and put it on screen because once again, Sub-Zero's ice puddle is extremely strong. And one more crazy thing about unblockables is they appear to defeat parries as well. Now once again, not too many unblockables in the game to test this with, but both Sub-Zero and Kotal Khan were blowing through everybody's parries. Now that could be because they're striking the ground and not technically the player, and that's why it's working. But even so, the unblockables that I tested do beat parries. So if the opponent you're fighting loves to do parries over and over again, hit him with the unblockable. And speaking of parries, let's talk about those real quick. So here we have Shao Kahn versus Sonya. Now poor Shao Kahn, we all know has a lot of weaknesses in this game, but one of his biggest weaknesses ever since day one was all the flawless block gaps that he has in his strings. So this one for example, actually pretty good on block, and you're forced to block it. It's an overhead and it's +2, so that's pretty nice, but here's the problem. Boom, a very big flawless block window there. And if I do successfully flawless block it, then he is -8, which means a full combo punish. However, since I'm playing Sonya, I don't have to work that hard. I can just go for a parry, because as it turns out, any string that has a flawless block gap can also be parried. And this used to be easier said than done, but now thanks to that recent update, we have 5 extra frames of input buffer on block, which essentially means you can do the parry input a little bit early and the game will still give it to you, it won't be dropped, which makes parrying these flawless block gaps that much easier. So real quick, here's one more example. So one of Shao Kahn's best strings is right here. It starts off very fast, that's how he reinforces all of his frame data. It's very unsafe on block, but even worse, that second hit has a flawless block gap as well. Now thankfully, parries don't usually work on lows, but certain characters like Sonya and even Spawn have a low parry, and once again, thanks to that input buffer on block, it is now so much easier to do. And this can be a very big deal against other characters who are top tier like Shang Tsung. He has a very good string that's plus on block, and you could flawless block it, but it's a bit risky to do that. Instead, if your character has a parry, then I highly recommend that option instead. Now in some cases, the parry will do less damage than a full combo punish, but at the same time, some moves actually require you to do a flawless block punish, so like an up 2 or an up 3, otherwise they're still safe. So against strings like that, the parry tech becomes that much stronger. Once again, if there's a big enough gap for a flawless block, then a parry will also work there as well, and it's much easier to do consistently. So make sure to keep that in mind the next time you go online and your character has a parry. And next up, we have an important tip about combo scaling. Now I've mentioned this before in past videos, but I want to reiterate it here. So sometimes just because a move does more damage does not mean it's the best way to end or extend your combos, especially if that move actually launches the opponent on its own. So right there, as you just saw, that kick does 90 damage, whereas this kick only does 70. But this one does not launch the opponent, which means if I do this one mid-combo instead of this one, you might think you get more damage because once again 90 as opposed to just 70. But once again, because this move does not launch the opponent, it's going to be the much better option for extending and ending combos. So just to prove my point, here's the same combo twice, and the only difference is the kicks. For this first combo, I'm doing the more damaging kick, but once again it launches the opponent, so check out the damage. Only about 290. Now here's the same combo, but I'm only changing the one kick. This kick does do less damage, but once again does not launch the opponent, so overall we get more damage for the combo. Check that out, over 30%. So the next time you're in training mode trying to find the max damage combo for a character, especially if they're a brand new DLC character, remember to always make sure the damaging moves do not launch the opponent. If they do, you're going to get less damage overall for your combo. And the next tip I wanted to talk about has to do with your meter. So a lot of different things will drain your meter in this game: an amplified special move, a breakaway from a combo, or just a wake up attack or canceling a move. However, depending on which one of these moves you do, your meter will actually refill at different speeds. So for an easy example, here I have Cetrion, and if I want to do an amplified special move, it only costs me 1 bar. But as you can see, the bar is refilling kinda slow. However, now I'm going to tell Devora to go ahead and knock me down so I can do a wake up attack. And once I do that wake up attack, as you're about to see, my offensive bar actually builds a lot quicker. So check this out. Whoa, it looks like it's on steroids compared to before. It's going to fill up a lot sooner than a regular amplified attack. So that's one example right away. But an even better example is her far teleport. Now, a lot of characters have access to a far teleport, like Scarlet for example. But if the player does choose to do that, they spend both of their bars. But look at it, it's building somewhat quick actually. It's not going to be that long before I have 1 defensive bar, so I'll still have a wake up option whether it's a roll or an attack. And then if I wait just a bit longer, I'll have access to breakaway. But here's the interesting thing about breakaway. So I'm going to tell Devora to launch me, and then I'm just going to drop. And let's see what happens. So as you can see, that defensive bar is building much slower than it did earlier when I did the far teleport. So even though the breakaway and the teleport both cost 2 bars, the meter will not refill at the same rate. So the next time you're playing online or at a tournament, just remember that even though you spent 1 bar or 2 bars, the meter's going to refill differently depending on how you spent those bars. So even though the meter in Mortal Kombat 11 does refill on its own, it doesn't always refill at the same rate. So make sure to go into training mode and see which attacks build meter at which speed. And alright everyone, that's about it for the video, but please let me know in the comments section if you know any more secrets about Mortal Kombat 11, or simply some lesser known facts that you think a player might not know about. And then while you're down there, please leave a like if you enjoyed the video, it really does help my channel out a ton. And finally, why not keep that combo going by subscribing and ringing that bell, that way you never miss a future video. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.